Good evening. The Concord Township Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for December 9th, 2020 is now in session. I would like to introduce the board. To my far left is Skip Sweeney and Jim Rowe. I'm Ivan Valentic. To my right is Chris Gerald and Blair Hamilton. To the far right. To the far right is Heather Freeman, our Township Zoning Inspector. Under the advice of council, we ask that anyone speaking tonight must be sworn in, so please stand to be sworn in. I'd ask that anybody that's on the phone, that you will also be sworn in at this time. Please stand. Yep. Please stand and raise your right hand. If you do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help me God. If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you. This evening, when you're presenting, come to the microphone, state your name and your address, and confirm that you've been sworn in. Anybody that's on the phone, we'll give them a chance to speak as well, and we'll confirm that they've been sworn in as well. Heather, were the legal notices published in a timely manner?
Yes, they were. Mr. Chairman, just so you know, we do have Attorney Mike Lucas on the line.
Okay.
I see he's on the line, so you might want to verify that he can hear what's going on.
Okay. Mike, I believe you're on the line. Can you confirm that you can hear us okay? Or type something in the chat maybe as well?
Mr. Valenti, this is Chad with Soil and Water. During the initial first few minutes of the meeting, it was very difficult to hear, but that last one was quite clear.
Okay, Chad. Is Mr. Lucas on the line? Okay. Not sure if he is. Oh, okay. We have old business, appeal number 2018-41, Randy Viviani of 7757 Concord LLC. They've requested to table this appeal, and this will continue to stay on here until that can be resolved. New business, we have two variance requests for this evening. A 3-vote majority is required to either approve or deny an appeal. The request is denied. You have the right to file an appeal. So first is variance number 2020-71. ProBit Homes, on behalf of the property owner, Mountainside Farms LLC, is requesting a variance from section 17.07A to allow for the construction of a single-family dwelling and related soil disturbing activities within the riparian setback area, which is otherwise prohibited use, for the property located at 7996 Burgundy Court, current parcel number 08-A-023-E-00-0480. Chad, just to confirm, were you able to hear that okay at that point?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I think the last three numbers, I think you flipped to 48. I thought I heard, where is it? I thought I heard 480 instead of.
0840. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Mike. We got you. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Valentic and everyone else tonight. I've been here numerous times before for Mountainside Farms for variances similar to this. I'll try to be brief because I know most of you were on the board, if not all, before. Mountainside Farms was platted prior to, when I say platted, meaning it was designed and built and the road put in prior to the riparian variance being installed. On a hillside, there's numerous streams. The developer was not afforded the opportunity to move the road layout so it would work with the riparian. So this lot in question, again, is a half-acre lot in what I would consider an executive level subdivision where you're having larger homes. And this lot especially, the creek not only is in the front yard, but it's sort of angling as you head north. So a good portion of the lot is now unusable by the riparian. And so what we're requesting here, we do have a client that is purchasing this home. So what we're requesting is to grade into the riparian and install the front walk in the riparian. We've pushed the house back as far as we can. We're at the rear setback line with the rear of the home. And we've tried to do everything possible to stay as far away from the stream as we can. And, we would ask that, in lieu of the hardship of where the stream is on the lot and that it was designed, the subdivision was designed prior to the riparian, we would hope that you would, as you've done in the past, grant a variance so that we can grade into it. The house itself is not in the riparian. It's just some of the front walk and the grading off the front of the house.
And what's the status of the house right now?
It's sold. We have a customer. There's a resident that's purchasing the home.
Okay, and when they purchased the property, were they aware of the riparian setback?
Well, they have not closed on the purchase
Oh,
yet.
okay.
They are aware of the riparian. We met them on site. We explained it. I believe Mr. Egger is going to talk about rotating it. We tried to rotate it in all the different directions, and at the end of the day, with the needs of the client and with trying to stay as far away as possible, this was deemed to be the best solution.
Okay.
And we do have the developer, Larry Nadler. I'm doing this because it's my customer, but it's on behalf of him because my customer hasn't closed yet. The developer himself is on the phone if you wish to speak.
Okay. Did you guys, I understand you looked at maybe the position of the house. What about retaining wall or something to reduce the encroachment into the riparian setback? Did you look at anything like that?
Well, yes and no. Ultimately, what we want to do here, it's going to be pretty much identical to what we did on sublot 100 up the street, which is the guy that bought sublot 100 bought sublot 101. He's retaining it, not building on it. But if you remember, we're grading it exactly like that. We're going straight down, and it'll be a natural rock that on that one at 100, we have rocks in there to retain the soil. I don't know if you've seen that. We have rocks, and Chad can help you with the verbiage, but it's a ground cover vine thing, and then mulch that holds the thing back. And I think Chad mentioned we do, just to answer Chad's question and his recommendations. As we've told our client that we're not allowed to do anything in the riparian other than what's approved in the variance. So we do not intend to to do anything else contrary to the Concord ordinance within the riparian.
And what are we putting back then in that disturbed area that's in the riparian? That's not going to be turf. That's going to be left natural even after it gets disturbed? I
mean, if you, I guess I was confused by some of the comments, but if you would rather on the street side that we seed that, I'm sure the client would much rather have that. We were just, as of right now, we were leaving everything in the riparian natural.
No, I understand that. I think I think it's recommended to leave everything in the riparian area natural. My question is around the area in the riparian corridor that you're grading and filling.
Yes.
What is that? What are you going to put back in that area?
Well, that's going to be like what was done up the street at 100, where we're going to, you strategically place rocks into the hillside, right? And then you put, and I'm not good at the term, I'm not a landscaper, but it's like ivy type thing that retains the soil, and you put mulch in with it.
Okay.
But it'll look exactly like we did at 100.
Yeah, there's a point in Chad's notes even where he does not see favor in seeding.
Yeah, we would. I think the point is, I think he's emphasizing that we put native plants back in there.
Right, absolutely.
I do want to address one other thing. So, and if you bear with me, this was what I would call initially like an ephemeral stream. It just sort of comes out of that hillside, south of where Lake Erie College built up or north of where Lake Erie College built up for their equestrian center. It used to flow pretty good because when none of those houses were built on the hillside, all the water would go to that stream. Now that those houses are built and all their downspouts are tied in and they're going to the storm sewer, which exhausts on the north side of Caribou, there's very little water in that stream now. I mean, there's not a lot, so I don't feel like, the flood, it's not like that whole thing's ever going to fill up with water, because most of the water has been diverted by either sump pump structures or by tied in downspouts of the uphill houses.
Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I just want to get kind of the lay of the land here. Across the street is and beyond the houses across the street going north, I believe, there's a retention
Yes.
pond.
Yes.
It's pretty big too, isn't it?
It used to be a lot bigger. I mean, I don't know how long you've been around Concord, but that used to be a pretty high dam.
Yeah, no,
Part of the
I
whole
recall that. Yeah.
deal was they had to
Right.
lower that. Yes.
Right. And in the back of this house to the west, is there also a small creek?
No.
I took a look at that today and it seemed like there was just a small, I mean, nothing of any real significance.
Nothing on this lot. I think
Okay.
what you're talking about, so the property to the west on the rear line of this lot
Yeah.
is owned by Lake Erie College. About 20 feet into that is where like some water comes down the hillside. It really hasn't even almost
Yeah.
channelized yet.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And you'll notice Larry Nadler, the developer, he added a little yard drain there to catch that because it was rushing out into the road. But that's not on the rear of this lot. That's coming off of the Lake Erie College property.
Okay.
It may be slightly channelized, but it sort of doesn't really matter. It's not on this lot. But,
Yeah, it's
but it's very
inconsequential.
small. I live in Mountainside Farm, so I remember. I mean, when that road was first put in, that little bit of water was flooding over and putting mud on the road, and that's why Larry added that little drain there. But so that's what we're hoping to do, and you know, this knock on wood. We're sold out in Mountainside now, so there shouldn't be any of these variances anymore. The new subdivisions we're designing around the 25-foot riparian properly. So
Anyone else on the board have questions?
No.
No. You can be seated.
okay, thank you all.
Thank you. Chad, you're on the line. I'll let you maybe start first and then we'll open it up to the public. Do you want to expand on your recommendations briefly? We've all read them and we have them in front of us.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to ask a clarification question from George. Can he hear me?
Yes, he can hear you.
Okay, so one of the comments that I generated was what's the intent of the ground between the stream and Burgundy? Is the intent to leave the existing vegetation exactly as it is?
Well, so at the right of way, you know, the part that's in the right of way, that's grass right now, and then when you step off of that, it's a bunch of prickers. So I mean, I can't speak for my client, but I'm assuming they're going to convert those prickers into grass. But we're not grading on that or putting any fill because that's in the riparian as well. You know what I'm talking about, Chad? All those, there's like, you know, all those
Yes, sir.
prickers.
That was the clarification I was looking for. So,
Yeah.
I think my comment would be in relation to the final disposition of the vegetation in there, my recommendation would be to plant that in native vegetation. Their grass isn't native. I understand the goal of a homeowner, but I'm looking at from the goal of protecting the stream and the infrastructure, green infrastructure that the stream provides. So, other than that, you know, I agree that with George's statement that lot was platted beforehand, very small lot, not a lot of options for them. I think a slight rotation of the footprint of the house was more parallel to the stream rather than parallel to Burgundy. Maybe 10 degrees of rotation at most would pull some of that footprint of the fill as it rounds the front elevation and goes around to the north elevation would kind of pull that footprint of that fill out of the riparian a little bit more. That would make the backyard not a perfect rectangle, but there certainly is plenty of space to the north there, not in the riparian, that could be established for general lawn and landscaping usage. But that's a pretty similar lot to the other
Chad, I haven't seen what was completed on sublot, that 100, is that George that you referenced? Have you seen how that finished out and was completed by chance?
No, got 400 active lots in Lake County right now.
So Chad, that one, Chad, to refresh your memory, that's the, oh, I'm sorry, he's over. To refresh your memory, that's the house immediately to the south going up Burgundy on the same side of the street with the white siding. Probably you'd remember it.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a general recollection of what that was like.
Yeah. So Chad, are you recommending, obviously you want anything that's in the riparian corridor, in that setback to remain native. Are you saying that you would like to see that anything that's, in between Burgundy Court and the creek, all of that area, even if it's outside the riparian, to remain as native vegetation?
Well, I think my wish would be that anything in that riparian corridor be maintained in woody vegetation, because that's what ultimately provides the most erosion control and the most benefit for water quality. So if there's areas outside of the riparian setback between that and Burgundy, that's a bonus. It's certainly close enough to the stream that it would provide shade cover and infiltration of runoff from surrounding areas, but I don't have really the justification saying it should be.
Gotcha. Okay, so you just want,
It'd be good.
yeah, okay. So you're just looking at a minimum that riparian setback gets restored with native species. Okay.
Can I make a couple of comments? So the 10-degree rotation, we are okay with. However, the issue why we didn't do it, Chad, is it pulls the front corner of that garage, the southeast corner of that garage, because as we rotated that 10 degrees, we got to pull that closer so that back corner isn't in the rear setback. And so when we did that, yeah, it sort of, it could create less of an area into the riparian, but the problem is now we got to put the sidewalk even farther into the riparian, which means I gotta go flat at least 4 feet away from the house for the front walk anyway. So once we did that, we didn't really see that much of a difference. That's why we went back to, because we did try to angle it. It's just a tough lot because so much of it's in the riparian.
Went through that effort.
And then the only other question I'll make on the native vegetation is, if you put yourself in, Larry Nadler put this development in with the intent of putting executive level homes there. Obviously, this got placed on that afterwards, which has had a negative impact on this lot. He had to sell it. He's selling it at a discount. It was impossible to sell, right? We finally found someone who was willing to take some of the accommodation. But imagine if you're building a $600,000 house and you got to leave prickers in your front yard. Like, I think it would be fair, as we've done on all the other riparian variances where, because before it was said that you could plant grass in the riparian, I think it would be fair to allow them on that street side, the street side, to plant grass in the riparian on the street side of those so they can have some nice street appearance. I would feel that would be fair to the client. I don't want to, there's not a ton of water going there, and at some point we got to look at aesthetics, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, we're not here to approve them, clearing and doing, we're just only here to approve the additional fill and earth disturbing activities within the riparian zone. That's all we're here. I mean,
and the client's aware of what they can and can't do per the, we have your ordinance, so, we share that with the client, so they're aware of that.
And I'm sure someone will be out to review during construction to confirm, that you're following the ordinance. Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions for Chad from the board? No.
No.
Thank you, Chad. I'm going to ask that if there's anyone else in the room that's either speaking for or against this appeal, if they would like to come up. Okay, I would ask that if there's anybody on the phone that would like to speak for or against this appeal, that they speak now. or put something in the chat maybe if you want to speak, and then we can get you all set up. Okay, so doesn't sound like we have anyone else that's here to speak for or against this appeal. So if there's no further questions, the public hearing for variance number 2020-17 is now closed to the public. Can I give a motion to approve variance 2020-71?
So moved.
Second.
Open for discussion on the board? Anybody want to? I don't know. I just say that I'm glad that we're done with Mountainside Farms after this. I know you are too. I would say that my only thing is I feel like I'm slightly disappointed in the fact that maybe we didn't see some of the tweaks and things that they tried. I would have liked to maybe see even a wall version shown of what it would look like with the wall, just to try to reduce it a little bit more. I mean, it's not a huge variance request, but it's a decent variance request. So, but they are in a difficult situation. So that's my piece. Anyone else?
Well, I think the adhering to Chad's line that should stick with the native vegetation and so forth. I mean, I'm not, because again, as he points out, if you got grass, it's not a situation in his favor.
Yeah, and I don't think they're allowed to clear and put grass in that riparian zone, correct, Heather? Or do we have to make that a stipulation?
Based on the zoning?
Based on zoning, cultivate on.
Oh, they can?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, as I say, it's a sticky situation. I mean, if the guy who spends his lifetime figuring out how to do this, I'm not really in favor of saying, no, you're not right,
Yeah.
It's just, but I say I've had experience living along the riparian, and it's better to stick by the dictates.
Okay. Skip?
No.
Okay. Chris, anything to add?
I guess I'll just say, outside of granting this variance, anything that does happen in the riparian, as long as it happens per the zoning, I'm fine.
Okay.
It's well put. Yeah.
I think what Jim's saying is that it sounds like Jim, there was a recommendation that they put back the native plants. Doesn't sound like anybody is pushing for that on the board. I'm just reading the situation here. So we could just, we don't have to make that a condition. It's just, let's just look at it the way it is.
I think what Mr. Davis is suggesting with, putting in a bunch of rocks and foliage in there, and it correlates with the rest of the development,
Okay.
and that makes sense.
Okay. I guess Chad was in agreement on the lot 100.
I don't remember
I
that,
don't-
but
Oh, it's just,
Yeah, I think he made recommendations, but we may not have accepted all those recommendations at that time. I don't remember, Jim. To be honest with you.
okay. I wasn't involved with that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Then we'll go with, then it's the approval on the variance for appeal number 2020-71. Yes vote approves the variance, and no vote denies the variance. Heather, please call the vote.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes?
Mr. Hamilton?
Yes.
Ms. Gerald?
yes.
Mr. Valente?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
No.
Okay, your variance has been approved. Thank you. All right. You
too.
Next on the agenda is variance number 2020-72. James and Marion Montel are requesting a variance from section 17.07A to allow for the construction of a single-family dwelling and related soil disturbing activities within the riparian setback area, which is otherwise a prohibited use for the property located at 11805 Cali Drive, current parcel number 08-A-0-0-4-D-00-060-0.
Good evening, I'm Frank Chorba from Land Design Consultants. We did the site plan for this lot, and Mrs. Mantel is here with me tonight.
And you've been sworn in, sir?
Yes, I've been sworn in.
And can you give your address for the record?
Company or home? Company,
Company's fine.
Land Design Consultants, 9025 Osborne Drive, Mentor, Ohio.
Okay.
As I said, we designed the site plan. Wetland C and Wetland D that you see on there are in the process of being mitigated through the Army Corps of Engineers. Basically, it's up to the point where everything's approved, and they just have to send in the fee for the mitigation. We placed the house so that we could be on the 50-foot setback and kind of equidistance from the banks of the stream all around the house to keep it as far away as possible and still remain behind the setback. And the house is ending up on basically the highest portion of the property. That was our reasoning for placement of where it is. If need be, that stream through wetland D is going to stay the way it is, and to the west of that, even though the that portion of wetlands being mitigated, that could remain natural without affecting the building of the house. I got a bunch of comments from Soil and Water tonight, and it was mentioned that the stream is moving. The banks of the stream, as shown on our drawing, were done by a real topo done 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. And you can see where the floodplain is over to the right-hand side of the drawing on the easterly portion of the property. The stream is east of where the floodplain actually is, which shows some of the movement that's taken place since the floodplain was designed on the FEMA maps. Basically, we showed the green area where we're disturbing the riparian setback. What we did is basically graded out from the house and then drew that out along where the grading lines ended. I would imagine if need be, the slopes could get steeper going toward the stream with like maybe some kind of retaining landscaping around the house, and it could drop down and more of some of the green area along the stream could be left natural the way it is now by pulling the contours back with landscaping around the house. And would that be all right with you?
Yep.
Okay.
Definitely.
I guess if there's any other comments or questions, I'd be glad to answer them, but
So this is Jordan Creek, right?
pardon me?
This is Jordan Creek through the property?
Yes.
And it's,
Yeah, and then there's that stream to the, on the east side of the house where you see through wetland D. That's from a culvert that's coming across the street. We're leaving that, through that wetland area, we're leaving it as it is.
Okay.
And,
You have a comment that will be mitigated. What's involved with that?
basically, the Army Corps gives you permission to fill the wetlands, to place fill in them. So they wouldn't be there anymore.
And this property was purchased after our riparian setback was established, correct? Our riparian setbacks were established in July 2016.
Do you know when you purchased it?
This lot was bought in 2017.
Okay.
I don't know what month.
Anyone have any questions?
Can you just kind of take us through the process of getting all this stuff approved and where you're at there? Because there was a lot of stuff here. So if you could just kind of walk us through that, if you would.
Well, of course, first thing we have to do is get the variance for the riparian setback, and then we were going to complete the wetland mitigation with the Corps. And after seeing these comments tonight, we're probably going to have to meet with Soil and Water and address these as best we can to get to build a house on this property. Is Chad still on the line?
Yeah, Chad's still on the line. We'll get to Chad too.
Okay.
I mean, we had, some of us are more familiar with streams and the impact that a stream can have in the riparian setbacks. We've had some training in, with us to kind of educate the board. I mean, like if I were to pull out a picture of a site, that the reason we established riparian setbacks is so we wouldn't end up in the situation that we have here this evening with this lot. I mean, this is a significant impact to the riparian corridor, to the stream floodplain that's getting proposed, and that's the difficulty we have right now, is to find a way to really understand, why you guys are attempting what you're trying to attempt, and if we should allow you to do that.
And then the difficulty we have is that this is the only spot we can possibly put a house.
Yeah.
So the only other thing we could do is, I was reading through these comments real quick tonight, and Chad mentioned moving the house southerly, which would be encroaching into the normal setbacks, so we'd have to get a variance for that from the township if we did move the house forward toward the road.
I think it would be easier to get something like that.
Well,
Then
it still
what
wouldn't
is-
solve the problem though.
Well,
but it would
so
help it.
I'm curious. I mean, the very first question that we always ask is if the property was purchased with the knowledge of the setbacks requirements.
They didn't know about it when they purchased the property. They knew about the frontage setback, but not the riparian setback.
Okay, and you didn't really answer my question on what this process is, because I see this preliminary JD in here. Just take me through the approval process with the powers that be.
Well, first
with
it
the
goes through
government.
the township to get zoning approval, and then it goes to the county engineer, and I believe Soil and Water at the same time to get approval for the site plan.
I'm talking about the EPA
Oh, the EPA.
and the Army Corps.
Okay, that is basically, that got started a couple years ago. And our company didn't do it. We hired, the Mantelis hired HCW to present it to the Corps. The Corps came out and looked at the land. They had to agree with where we said the wetlands were, and then we asked permission to fill this 0.02 acres and 0.03 acres of wetland. And we got to the point where they said they would approve it to be mitigated. In other words, they would allow us to fill those wetland areas. And the Mantelis would have to pay a fee to be able to do that. And that's where we are now. But we wanted to get approval through the township prior to them paying that fee, so that would be taken.
Is there a contract on this property, or what? I mean, because
As
you
far as
already live in the development.
Yeah, we live on BZA, correct.
So
What do you mean a contract?
are you selling this? Are you going to be living there?
Oh, I'm
What-
gonna be moving, yes. I want to build a one-floor ranch home and downsize from, a big home up on Nancy Lynn Drive. Yes, that's the reason I bought the lot. I was told we could build on it.
Maybe you
Maybe,
should come
yeah,
up
ma'am,
here
yeah, I was gonna
and
say that.
give your name and
Yeah,
address.
Go through the whole, give us your name and address and confirm you've been sworn in.
I'm sorry, go on. Where was I?
Just state your name and
Oh,
address.
Marion Mantell, 7595 Nancy Ann Drive, Concord.
And you have been sworn in.
Yes,
Okay, great. So you are moving from your house.
right,
And you're going to you want to build a ranch on this property. So
Correct.
And you
Correct.
had no idea that
None.
any of this.
none. We had no idea there was wetlands on it. We bought it with the, there were no wetlands, everything was fine. And we went into it and we bought the lot. And then I bought some other property next to it, so I'd have a bigger area to build on. And that's where we are now. I want to downsize, I want to build a smaller home, and I'm hoping we could get some of this approved so we could start moving forward on it.
There are substantial issues and a whole lot of comments on soil and water.
Well, very salient is the opening recommendation regarding this property.
What are you talking about, Jim?
From Chad's recommendations.
Oh,
Well, I don't think that Mrs. Mantell was aware of that it
None.
wasn't suitable at all for residential development. I mean, you bought this from Home Savings, right?
No, I bought this from Kelly Development, or Kelly Properties.
It didn't indicate that on
No,
the
I
auditor's side.
bought the lot next to this lot from Home Savings.
Oh, okay.
And I combined both 39B with 38A or something like that to make this section here.
I don't know. Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah. Ms. Mantle, I just want to ask you a couple of questions. Now, you've lived in this neighborhood for how long?
Pardon?
You lived in the neighborhood for how long?
22 years.
And Nancy Ann is a couple of minute walk from here, from this.
Yes.
Okay. So you must have driven past this lot a long time,
Right.
many times, thinking about it, what you want to do,
Absolutely.
the possibilities. Did you ever take a walk on the property?
No.
Or your husband, or I don't know who you're,
We did a walk once, yes, and it's so thick with vegetation and trees, we really couldn't get very far. But we did do a walk, but not all the way into it because I couldn't walk it.
yeah, it's pretty overgrown.
Right.
And that lot, had that lot been up for sale the entire time you lived in Cali?
I really don't know. I know the person I bought it from had called me. He knew I was trying to downsize and said he wanted to sell it, Joe Kelly. And I said, yeah, I'd be interested in it. And, I asked, I says, is there any problem? No, nothing going on. I just want to sell it and be done with it, selling all his property up here. So I bought it. And I was told that, you know, all lots are buildable, and I went into it with really good faith, and,
Who told you that it was buildable?
well, I was told any lot was buildable. What I called land design, you know. But of course, we didn't have these plans or anything like that. So I bought the lot, and then a year later, or a couple of years later, Home Savings had these 2 lots that I knew weren't really buildable, but I wanted to, you know, buy it so I'd have the land next to the good property, and to make sure that I had enough property to build on. So
May I ask how much you paid for the lot?
I paid $25,000 for the sublot,
The subject lot?
that lot, and $5,000 for the one next to it.
The other thing that kind of jumped out at me, and I think Chad brought up too, was this 100-year flood limits. You know, I don't know how accurate. I mean, they're not very accurate because the creeks moved. You know, this was from FEMA. I'm not sure when they mapped it. Maybe it was a while back because the creek's in a different position from where that's located. And Chad's alluding to the fact that, you know, there might need to be a new H&H study done to confirm the FEMA flood limits. Are you aware of that, or do you?
Not so tonight.
Not to tonight.
So I'm curious, when you closed on the property, title would have known that it was in a floodplain. That would have been disclosed to you.
It never was. No, there was no mention of it.
I mean, that is a requirement.
I could look at my title papers, but nothing was ever brought up that it was in a, it's not, I thought it's not in a floodplain.
It is in a floodplain.
Yeah. Well, part of the property is definitely in the floodplain, and there might be more of the property in the floodplain. If they do the H&H study and determine what the existing 100-year floodplain actually is. I mean, this survey is how old did you say? 2 years?
I think it was done in August of 17.
I just don't think we have enough information. There's way too many questions.
Did you get the property insured?
No. Insured for what?
She would have title insurance. That would
I
be
have
it.
title
I
insurance.
mean, subsequent to purchasing the house.
There's no
There's
house
no.
on it.
building.
I think your
There's
answer is no.
Yeah.
No, there's no house on
There's no
here.
house
There's
on
no.
I know, but that wasn't my question.
No.
Okay. I took a drive past this, and I got out and I looked around on this property, and I got to tell you, there is a lot going on. There's a lot of elevation change. There's a lot of stream meandering. Not to mention, when you look at the property, it looks like a swamp. The entire property. Did it ever occur to you that you might not be able to build on it?
No.
Did you? You mentioned your builder said, "Oh, there's no problems with that." Have you talked to him in the past 3 years?
I talked to him about a year ago, and he says he swears that when he was the original owner of the whole property there, and that area is where they had the sand pit, and he swore to me there was no wetlands, there was no issue with it.
If you look at old pictures of this area, I would think that the term sand pit would be an understatement. This guy owned the entire Cali Woods
Cali Woods,
property,
right.
and he told you it was fine. It's fine. You can build on it.
Uh-huh.
Regardless, we could let Chad talk too. My view on this whole thing is that regardless, this is a very large impact to the riparian zoning code. It's a huge impact. I mean, it's not minor, and I haven't heard enough or anything really today that's going to convince me of why we should give a variance to this. So I'm really having a hard time with that. You know, more information or not, I don't know if it's really going to change much, in my opinion, but if there's no further questions for either of them, then I would like to let Chad kind of go through his comments, and then you guys can maybe ask Chad questions if you have questions for Chad, if that makes sense. Chad, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the board has a copy of your comments, your recommendations. The property owner was given the comments earlier this evening. If you would like to just kind of go through your points and just kind of let us know or kind of where you're at, what you're thinking, and then maybe we'll have some, comments for you or questions.
Sure, thanks. The lot was platted before the riparian setback, which was 2016, correct?
Yes.
The setbacks were in 16?
I believe so.
Yeah. Mantle bought the lot in 17, I believe, according to the auditor's website. It has enough frontage, it has enough acreage that you could put a house in there, but it doesn't mean that it's suitable. Akin to, you might have enough acreage on a one-to-one slope leading down to a Lake Erie Bluff. Does that mean it's buildable or suitable? It might meet the county standards, that are the township standards for having enough room, but that's a separate question in my head. The reason that the township enacted their riparian setback is because you were experiencing substantial erosion and flooding, loss of property value, culverts getting destroyed, a lot of infrastructure being damaged that was falling on
Thank you.
your staff and the residents that have to fix. This site represents all of those issues. The reason you have these setbacks in place is to stop problems from starting in these areas or from having improvements that are going to cause additional problems in these areas for downstream residents. And in my opinion, this project will. Could it potentially be engineered to not? Yeah, that is a potential, but I don't believe that this plan represents that. There's not enough questions answered. There's been enough migration of that stream recently to put it completely outside of the mass floodplain. That should give the Mantle cause for concern alone for building their house for their investment. But that really doesn't tell you where your riparian setbacks are going to be impacted either. So I think that H&H study that they're going to have to do to get a permit to build in the floodplain in that wetland area, that'll give them the information they need to adjust that boundary so that you will know how much of your setback is going to be impacted and will allow you to make a more informed decision. I think the migration rates of that channel should be evaluated at the same time, so that they can properly plan for siting the house and know that, hey, this channel is going to move this far in this many years. That obviously is a hot spot of issues. Immediately downstream, we have the houses that had to be removed from the floodplain because they were constantly getting flooded. Immediately above it, you've got the Sarah Lee culvert that is now almost completely full of sediment from that channel. There's just a lot of work that needs to be done, in my mind, to convince me that this site is not going to cause problems for downstream homeowners and probably the Mantles in the very near future. So I can take questions.
Does anyone from the board have questions for Chad? And when Chad talks about the migration of the channel, where you could see it as that, that blue line was maybe where the floodplain was mapped by FEMA, and then you can see that the channel's even moved outside of that. The channel is outside of the 100-year floodplain that was mapped by FEMA at one point. So it's definitely moved, and it's moving towards where the house is being located. I think that's just one area. Several other areas we could see that it's moved and migrated.
Yeah, it's certainly a very active channel, much more active than a natural erosion rate.
Yeah, and it's not just it's a pretty large watershed and creek through here as well. Does anyone on the board have questions?
Have you considered getting this approved JD completed?
Approved what?
Jurisdictional determination from the Army Corps. In their letter from 2018, they recommended, maybe getting that done. And they also strongly recommended, this was back in September 2018, so, that's over 2 years ago. They strongly recommend, having this be reevaluated in 5 years, but, per, Chad's observations that, that may need to be moved up just because it's moving. So in this letter from the Army Corps, they're saying that this preliminary jurisdictional determination, I don't know, maybe that's the fast track, but they're requesting or suggested maybe getting an approved JD, which is a stronger study, I would suspect, and it seems like that you need to get something more updated at this time. Am I looking at that
I
incorrectly?
don't have that letter, where is it? Oh, the one from okay. The one that came through from HCW.
Have you received it? Have they received the JD already? Do you know if the owners have received the JD? Has it been approved, the jurisdictional determination?
That's what I'm
Yeah,
asking.
everything's been approved.
Well, this is just the preliminary one. Where is the final one?
They have to pay for the mitigation and the final one will come through.
Oh,
Right,
the
that's
chicken or the
problem.
egg kind of thing here, is it?
I have to clarify one thing. According to what you said about the buying that property in 17, I think that was the property I bought from the bank. I bought the big lot, like I think it was in 2015, sublot 39, whatever.
Was it these two together?
No, it wasn't. Originally, there was just this one.
Oh, okay.
And then I bought these two lots, 39 and A and B, and this was 39B, and then this was 38A and C or something.
Chad, did you look that up? I obviously looked at the wrong one in my haste. Chad, did you look that up and see when this property was purchased?
I can try to do that, yeah. I'm always sitting on my phone, so I'm trying to listen and read my email. It's been honored.
He's reading his email.
Right now.
Well, in any event,
Yeah.
there's so many questions, and I feel like I'm in real estate, so you got a significant discount on buying these properties. I mean, significant. A property of that size right now in Concord would probably be $150,000 or more. And you're probably spending a big old penny trying to get all of this
Right, I am.
approved. My sense, and I don't know until we take the roll, but I am a landowner's advocate. Let me just emphasize that. But this particular property is not really too buildable. And even before the riparian issues, if you did buy it before the riparian issues were in place, still dealing with the EPA and wetlands, I mean, I know that firsthand, how arduous that can absolutely be. And I'm suspecting that you probably were not represented by a realtor or an attorney when you bought this. Am I right or wrong?
Correct,
Yeah,
correct.
so I am very sorry. I mean, I feel for you that you bought this property, and of course the guy sold it to you because he was getting anything he could get for it. That's just my take on it. But there's so many things going on here.
What do I do with it now? I mean, will the township buy it? I mean, can we use it as what can we use it as?
Well, that's not our,
Yeah,
that's not our role.
I don't, as a real estate professional, I wouldn't know what to tell you about that either. It's caveat emptor. You have to, when you buy pieces of property, you just have to conduct your due diligence to make sure, looking at restrictions, looking at
I would drink to
ordinances and
that.
all of that. So I am very sorry.
Does anyone else on the board have any questions for the applicant or for Chad? Do you have any questions for Chad on your end of things? I guess.
I do have a question for
Cherry.
Chad.
Oh, hold on.
For Chad.
Skip.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Chad, I'm looking at the green area, which is the impact area. And do you see to the left of it the edge of the setback on the creek in blue dashed lines? Are you, when you talk about migration rates, I mean, is there a very real possibility that this or any part of this creek is going to move significantly over the years?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So there are different ways to do lateral migration studies. Physically measure them over time, and you can come up with averages, or you can do your best with historical aerial photographs if you've got enough records that you can see them. And that's a little bit less scientific, but a separate way. But what we need to understand is that it's not a constant rate, that it moves 1 inch per month for every month. It's typically a very small amount of erosion on a very daily basis that we couldn't measure, and then all of a sudden you get a good storm and it moves 4 feet. And then it stays where it's at for a while, and then it moves 5 feet the next big storm, and then it stays where it is for a while. So just the regression or lateral migration rates are a tricky thing to measure. So without setting up survey equipment and measuring that over years, it'd be tough to say, here is the safe spot.
Well, yeah, I'm not asking you to stick to any sort of a prediction, but the potential for significant migration is all I'm really after. And if I'm looking at this correctly, is the migration rate, I mean, it's actually flowing into the proposed property area on the outside bend, is that correct?
Correct.
All right.
That's where erosion occurs, is on the outside of the meander, and it is meandering towards the proposed home location. And to answer the question about the purchase of the property, there are 3 parcels that come up on the auditor's website when you search the last name Mantle. 1 is their existing home site, and 2 on Cali. Both of those are showing on the auditor's website as being purchased in 17. So they still have to get that rectified if there was an earlier purchase date. I'm just putting what I see on the auditor's website.
We combined them in 17 or 18. We combined. I'll get all my records.
Well, it's still 2 parcels. You didn't.
We bought 3 parcels. I combined 2 parcels to make the 2 acres. And then I have another parcel on the other side of the stream.
It's using the most recent when you combine the two parcels using that date.
Okay, that's
Okay.
what he's using. But I bought the original parcel way before that.
I mean, I'm thinking it's neither here nor there in regards
Right,
to
I know what you
riparian,
mean.
just
I know
because
what you mean.
wetlands are always a big issue. They're always a big issue.
I mean, again, going back to what Chad said from the beginning and what we've talked about, we put the riparian setbacks in place because of degradation to our watershed, to the streams, the flooding within Concord Township. And I think the point, I guess what's happening if this were to go forward is that could potentially just expedite further degradation and flooding downstream from here because it's a significant impact to the riparian corridor and the floodplain. I mean, it's this close to Jordan Creek. So that's something to, I guess we have to consider if, we do give the variance.
Yeah.
Well, and I think not to mention that it imperils whatever is built there potentially.
Yeah.
It just may not be a great place for you to build your house.
Well, we want to ask, we're not going to get any further tonight, so could we table this? And then we're going to go and probably talk to Chad and
Mr. Kelly.
see if there's any possibilities or whatever, and then decide what to do from there. But if we could just table it tonight, that would probably be the best thing.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, before we do that, you want to see if there's any other public on the phone.
Great point. Is there anybody else on the phone that would like to speak for or against this appeal? Again, you can use the chat too to let Heather know that you want to speak. Nothing? Okay, we do have a few people on the phone, so I'll just give you one more chance to jump on if you want to speak against or for this appeal. Okay. I'd like to, so can I put forth the motion and then we need a motion to table this?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir.
I'm sorry, I was having trouble getting in. I'll only take a moment.
Yo, can we have your name and address for the record?
Sure. My name is Joe Langen, 11744 Cali Drive.
And have you been sworn in, sir?
I think I was virtually. I've been on the whole time.
Were you on when I swore everybody in the room and on the phone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Go ahead then.
No, I just wanted to very quickly say I really empathize with the situation of the property owner. But being immediately upstream from this property and the variance request, and seeing every day, I have a great amount of Jordan Creek that flows through my property. And like I said, I'm immediately upstream. So having had this property for 7 years and what I paid for it, and just very concerned. And I think you've brought up all of the issues, but as someone who's directly stands to be impacted by this, it concerns me a great deal. So I appreciate the thoroughness that the zoning committee is putting into this and the consideration that you're giving it. And again, I'm sympathetic to the property owner, but I'm also sympathetic to myself and other property owners. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Heather, is there anyone else? Okay. So, do I have to have someone put the motion, or can I put forward a motion to table variance number 2020-72?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Chairman?
Does that work?
Yes, I knew. There we go.
Did we do that wrong?
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Mike Lucas speaking again.
Who?
I don't blame you for saying that.
Go ahead, Mike.
I and I apologize for this. Did you close the public hearing on this?
No, we have not
No.
closed the public hearing on that. That is a good point.
Okay, so what you want to do, you want to just recess the public hearing to the next meeting then?
Okay,
An application to move, to enable the applicant to talk to Mr. Unger now, which I think is, from what I'm hearing, is the primary purpose we want to do this, which is fine.
yeah, so we haven't closed it, so we would then, do we need a motion?
Actually, Mr. Chairman, I believe as the chairman, you could determine to recess it.
Okay. All right.
You the man.
Easy enough. Okay. So we're gonna take this variance request 2020-72 and recess it and revisit it at a later time.
That's the next meeting.
To our next
The
meeting.
next meeting.
Yes, which is
January
Jan-
13th.
And I would just encourage you to reach out to Heather and to Chad, go visit the site, get your boots on, and get somebody to get you through there, take a look at it. And there's probably some other people at the county you might want to talk to also in regards to the floodplain. So I would speak to the floodplain administrator as well. You can just some ideas. So I'll let you guys take it from there.
If I could jump in real quick, their engineer has already reached out to Bruce Landick, who is the floodplain administrator in the unincorporated area, and he has advised what they need to do. So their engineer is aware of the next steps for that process.
Okay. Thank you, Chad. Okay. So we're good. So then we're going to move on to, you can be seated if you want to stay for meeting minutes or you can leave. It's
Okay,
up to
thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, do you have a card,
Do you have a card?
a business card? If not, I need your full name written down here.
I can get it.
Okay, all right.
Oh, I put my name on the
Okay.
list.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Great. So next on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from November 10th, 2020?
So moved.
Second?
Is there any changes to the minutes? Additions, deletions? No? All in favor of approving the minutes from November 10th, 2020 as written, say aye.
Aye.
You want to abstain, sir?
Abstain.
Okay. The minutes from November 10th, 2020 have been approved. As Jim said, our next meeting is January 13th, 2021. It's going to be a much better year. Looking forward to it. The Concord Township meeting, Board of Zoning Appeals meeting is now closed.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Everybody have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you,
too.
Mike.
Merry Christmas.
Take care.
Merry
Merry
Chad.
Christmas. Thank you, Chad.